Maya's hands were shaking as she stood in the middle of the hotel room, staring at her phone like it had just betrayed her. The room was perfect. Soft yellow lights glowed against the walls. Rose petals were scattered across the bed exactly the way she had planned. The gift bag sat unopened on the chair, the card still blank, waiting for words she suddenly didn't trust anymore. Just 10 minutes ago, Maya had been smiling. Now her chest felt tight, like the air had been pulled out of the room. On her phone screen was a post she wasn't meant to see. She hadn't been searching for it. She hadn't suspected anything. It appeared by accident, a late-night scroll, a familiar name, a date that didn't make sense. 10 years today, the caption read. 10 years. Maya whispered the word under her breath, trying to understand it. Her mind raced. 10 years of what? 10 years since when? Her eyes dropped to the photo beneath the caption. It was him. Younger, yes, but unmistakably him. Standing beside a woman Maya had only heard about once or twice. His arm was around her in a way Maya recognized too well. Comfortable. Intimate. Real. The date on the post was today. Today was supposed to be their day. 5 years together. 5 years of love, patience, sacrifice, and belief. 5 years she was celebrating with this surprise. This room, this moment, this future she thought they were stepping into together. But while Maya was planning roses and promises, he was marking 10 years with someone else. Her stomach dropped. A single thought cut through her like glass. Where did that leave her? Maya had always believed in love that lasted. She was the kind of woman who stayed, who tried, who chose patience even when it was hard. At 29, Maya worked a simple office job, lived a quiet life, and poured most of her heart into the people she loved. And for the last 5 years, the center of that love had been Daniel. 5 years was not a small thing to Maya. It was late nights and early mornings. It was learning each other's moods, surviving arguments, forgiving mistakes, and still choosing one another at the end of the day. She had grown with him, not just beside him. Every important memory of her adult life seemed to include Daniel in some way. That was why this anniversary mattered so much. It wasn't just a date on a calendar. To Maya, 5 years meant stability. It meant commitment. It meant that the future she imagined was finally close enough to touch. Somewhere deep inside, she believed this anniversary could be a turning point, a step toward something permanent, something official, something that said we are building a life together. That belief was what pushed her to plan the surprise. For weeks, she had carefully put everything together. She booked the hotel in secret, choosing one they once talked about visiting someday. She saved part of her salary, skipped small comforts, and spent nights comparing ideas, wanting everything to feel meaningful rather than flashy. She imagined his face when he walked into the room, the way he would pull her into a hug, surprised and grateful. Maya loved like that, quietly but deeply. She wrote and rewrote the card in her head, practicing words about gratitude, growth, and love. She imagined conversations that night about the future, about where they were headed, about finally feeling secure in what they had built. Standing in that room earlier, surrounded by her carefully planned details, Maya felt proud. Proud of the effort. Proud of the love she had given for 5 years. Proud of believing in something real. She had no idea that, in the same hours she was planning a future, she was about to question whether she had ever truly been standing in the present. Maya met Daniel on an ordinary evening that never felt ordinary again. It was a friend's small birthday gathering at a cafe, the kind where everyone squeezed around mismatched tables and talked too loudly over bad music. Maya hadn't even wanted to go that night. She was tired from work and almost stayed home. Daniel arrived late, apologizing as he pulled out a chair, smiling in a way that felt easy and warm. They talked for hours. At first, it was simple things: work, music, childhood memories. Daniel listened carefully, the kind of listening that made Maya feel seen. When the night ended, she realized she had laughed more than she had in months. By the time he texted her the next morning, she already knew she wanted to see him again. The early days of their relationship were light and hopeful. They explored new places, shared meals, and stayed up late talking about dreams that felt possible back then. Daniel made her feel safe. Maya felt chosen. Being with him felt natural, like something that had been waiting to happen. But love, as Maya learned, wasn't just about the easy days. There were struggles too: financial stress, long work hours, moments when exhaustion turned small disagreements into heavy arguments. Maya often adjusted her schedule to fit his. She cancelled plans, changed priorities, and told herself that compromise was part of love. When things felt uncertain, she stayed calm for both of them, believing that stability came from patience. She gave without keeping count. There were moments that made her believe she was truly the one. The way Daniel held her hand during difficult conversations. The nights he called just to hear her voice. The quiet promises in his actions, introducing her to family, talking about future trips, speaking in we instead of I. Yet, there were spaces in his story that remained untouched. Whenever the conversation drifted toward his past, especially his longest relationship, Daniel became vague. He spoke in general terms, never details. He would change the subject or smile and say, "That was a long time ago." Maya noticed it, but she didn't push. She believed that respecting boundaries was part of love. She trusted him. She told herself that everyone had a past, and what mattered was the present they were building together. And from where she stood, their relationship felt real, built on shared experiences, sacrifices, and years of choosing each other. Maya never imagined that what he avoided talking about was still quietly shaping the life she thought they were sharing. The first time Maya heard about Daniel's ex, it was almost by accident. They had been together for nearly a year when her name came up, not in a story, not in a memory, but as a passing reference. Daniel mentioned her the way people mention an old address or a job they no longer have. No emotion. No detail. Just a sentence that ended too quickly. Maya didn't ask questions. She believed that the past stayed in the past for a reason. Daniel never brought her up again, and Maya took his silence as proof that it didn't matter. When friends casually asked about his previous relationship, he answered politely but briefly, as if the subject was already closed. Still, there were moments that felt slightly off. Sometimes, when certain dates approached, Daniel became quieter. He seemed distracted, lost in thought without explanation. When Maya asked if something was wrong, he always smiled and said he was just tired. She accepted it without pushing further. There were also little things she noticed but chose to overlook. He avoided certain places in the city, changing plans without much explanation. He never shared old photos from that period of his life. His phone was always face down, notifications silenced. None of it was enough to raise real suspicion, just enough to create a feeling she couldn't quite name. Maya handled it the way she handled most things in their relationship, with trust. She told herself that maturity meant not digging into things that didn't belong to her. Love, in her mind, was about focusing on what they had now, not competing with ghosts from the past. She reminded herself that Daniel chose her, every day, for 5 years. But unease has a quiet way of settling in. Every so often, when Daniel spoke about the future, there was hesitation in his voice. Promises were gentle but never firm. Maya noticed that she was always the one imagining what came next, while he listened and nodded without fully stepping into those dreams. She ignored the tension because the relationship felt steady, real, worth protecting. What Maya didn't realize was that the past she refused to question was slowly preparing the moment that would force her to face it. It happened quietly, without warning, the way life-changing moments often do. Maya was sitting on the edge of the hotel bed, smoothing the wrinkles from her dress, when her phone vibrated beside her. She barely glanced at it at first. She assumed it was a message from Daniel, asking where she was or telling her he was on his way. Instead, it was a notification from a social media app she rarely opened anymore. She tapped it absent-mindedly. At first, she didn't understand what she was seeing. The screen showed a familiar name, Daniel's. Beneath it was a photo she had never seen before. Younger versions of him and a woman standing close together, their faces relaxed, their bodies leaning toward each other like they belonged there. Maya's fingers froze. The caption was short. Simple. 10 years today. Her mind tried to make sense of it. 10 years since what? 10 years of friendship. 10 years since a memory. She told herself she was reading too much into it. People posted old photos all the time. Nostalgia didn't always mean attachment. She scrolled. There was another photo. Then another. Different moments, different places, all from the same time in his life he never talked about. Each image felt like a door opening into a room Maya had never been allowed to enter. Her heart began to race. Maybe it means nothing, she told herself. Maybe it's just a memory. Then she noticed the date. Today. The same day she was celebrating 5 years of loving him. The same day she was waiting to surprise him with a future she believed they shared. Her chest tightened as understanding slowly settled in. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't harmless nostalgia. This was intentional. Marked. Remembered. Maya felt her throat close as the truth became impossible to deny. While she had been planning roses and promises, Daniel had been honoring 10 years tied to someone else. And in that moment, surrounded by everything she had prepared for him, Maya realized she had been standing in a love that did not fully belong to her. Maya didn't cry right away. She sat there, phone still in her hand, staring at the screen long after it went dark. The silence in the room felt heavy, pressing against her chest. Her mind kept replaying the words 10 years today, as if they might change if she thought about them long enough. Shock held her still. She felt numb, detached from her own body, like this was happening to someone else. This couldn't be real. Daniel loved her. He had been with her for 5 years. People didn't hold on to the past like this if they were truly present, did they? Then the hurt arrived. It spread slowly, filling the spaces the shock had left behind. Her eyes moved around the room, taking in the petals, the gifts, the careful planning. Each detail suddenly felt embarrassing. 5 years of effort sat quietly around her, unacknowledged and unseen. Her chest burned as tears finally formed. Anger followed close behind. Not loud, not explosive, but sharp. Controlled. She thought about the nights she stayed up waiting for him. The plans she rearranged. The moments she chose understanding when she could have chosen herself. How easily he had accepted her love while still carrying something that clearly mattered enough to mark. And then came the doubt. Maya's anger turned inward, as anger often does. She questioned herself in ways she never had before. Had she been blind? Had she misunderstood their relationship all along? Was she a chapter in his life while someone else remained the story? 5 years. She had given him 5 full years of presence, loyalty, and commitment. And yet, 10 years of his heart still belonged to a past he never let go of. The contrast felt unbearable. Maya pressed her hands against her face, breathing slowly, trying to steady herself. A painful question rose again and again, refusing to be ignored. Where did she stand in his life if the past still demanded this much space? Another question followed, quieter but heavier. Could love truly exist when one person was still emotionally living somewhere else? The room no longer felt romantic. It felt like a mirror, reflecting a truth Maya wasn't ready to face, that loving someone deeply did not guarantee being chosen fully. Daniel arrived 20 minutes later. Maya heard the door before she saw him. The sound of the lock clicking open made her heart jump, but she didn't move from where she was sitting. She kept her phone in her hand, screen dark now, her fingers tight around it. Daniel stepped into the room and smiled. "Wow," he said, looking around. "What's all this?" Maya stood slowly. "We need to talk," she said. The tone of her voice made him pause. His smile faded just enough for concern to appear. "Okay, what's going on?" She held up her phone. "I saw your post." He frowned. "What post?" "The one you shared today," she said quietly. 10 years. For a moment, Daniel looked confused. Then his shoulders stiffened. "Oh, that," he said, exhaling. "You saw that?" "Yes," Maya replied. "I saw all of it." He ran a hand through his hair. "It's not what you think." "That's what everyone says," Maya answered. Her voice was steady, but her chest felt tight. "Can you explain it to me, then?" Daniel sighed. "It was just nostalgia, Maya. An old memory. It didn't mean anything." "Then why today?" she asked. "Why the same day as our anniversary?" He hesitated. "You're overthinking this," he said. "It was just a date. You're making it bigger than it is." Maya swallowed. "You marked 10 years, she said. "You didn't even mention our 5. "That's not fair," Daniel snapped. "You know I care about you." "Do I?" she asked softly. "Because right now, it feels like I'm standing in a room full of effort you didn't even see." He looked around then, at the petals, the gifts, the quiet love she had prepared. His expression shifted. Guilt flickered across his face. "I didn't mean to hurt you," he said, his voice lower now. "That part of my life is over." "But you're still holding on to it," Maya replied. "You never talk about her, but you never let her go either." Daniel opened his mouth to respond, then closed it. The silence stretched between them. No explanation came. No reassurance. No apology strong enough to fill the space. And in that silence, Maya understood something his words could not fix. Love that needs defending this much is already broken. Maya didn't answer when Daniel tried again. She didn't need words, not now, not ever. She sat on the edge of the bed, arms wrapped around her knees, letting the quiet fill the space between them. The room, once warm and hopeful, felt empty. She closed her eyes and took a slow, steadying breath. In that stillness, she began to think clearly for the first time since the discovery. Love wasn't just about effort or loyalty. It wasn't measured by gifts, surprises, or sleepless nights. Love was about respect. Love was about being chosen fully, not just when it was convenient or comfortable. She thought about all the nights she had dreamed of a future together. The plans, the promises, the conversations about life ahead, all of it had been hers alone. Daniel hadn't been building a future with her. He had been preserving a past that never truly ended. Maya's chest ached, but it was different now. It wasn't the sharp sting of betrayal anymore. It was a quiet, resolute clarity. She realized she had given him everything she could, but she had not been selfish, nor had she demanded more than respect in return. For the first time, Maya understood that stepping away didn't mean giving up on love. It meant valuing herself enough to see clearly, to protect her heart from being second to someone else's memories. She looked around the room one last time. The rose petals, the gifts, the card, all symbols of her hope, no longer represented disappointment. They represented her courage. Her willingness to love deeply and to walk away when that love was not fully returned. Maya smiled faintly to herself, a small, confident smile. The future she imagined wasn't gone. It simply belonged somewhere else now, somewhere she could create on her own terms, with someone who could choose her completely. Maya stood slowly, brushing her hands over the dress she had worn for him. Her fingers lingered on the fabric, feeling the texture that had once felt like hope, now only a reminder of clarity. She didn't shout. She didn't cry. She didn't throw the gifts or slam doors. This wasn't a moment of revenge. It wasn't fueled by anger or bitterness. It was fueled by understanding. She realized she had two choices: stay in a relationship where part of him would always belong elsewhere, or step away and protect the love she had for herself. The decision was quiet, yet powerful. "I can't do this," she said softly, her voice steady as Daniel looked at her, searching for a response. "I can't be in a relationship where I'm standing next to the past instead of building the future together." She picked up her bag and slowly walked toward the door. Daniel opened his mouth, but she didn't wait for excuses. She wasn't walking out of anger. She wasn't walking out of hurt. She was walking out of clarity, dignity, and the knowledge that she deserved someone who would choose her fully, past, present, and future. As she left the room, Maya felt a calm she hadn't felt in hours. Her heart still ached, but it was a sharp, clear pain, the kind that tells you growth is happening. For the first time in 5 years, she realized that strength wasn't staying in a love that wasn't enough. Strength was leaving it behind. Weeks had passed since that night. Maya had returned to her apartment, rearranged her life, and slowly rebuilt a sense of normalcy. The rose petals, the hotel, and the carefully wrapped gifts were memories now, symbols not of loss, but of lessons learned. She often thought back to that anniversary, the day when everything she believed about love had been tested. At first, it had hurt like a storm, raw and unrelenting. But with time, clarity replaced pain. She realized that love was meant to feel present, not haunted by memories of someone else. It was meant to grow with mutual respect, honesty, and full-hearted choice. Anything less was settling. Maya no longer questioned her worth or doubted her judgment. She understood that loving herself was just as important as loving someone else. Her heart, strong and steady, was hers to protect. One quiet evening, she looked out of her window at the city lights and smiled. She didn't need validation, gifts, or anniversaries to define her value. She didn't need to compete with someone else's past to claim her place in the present. She whispered to herself, softly but firmly, "I am enough. I am worthy. And I will never stand in the shadow of someone else's memories again." Maya had chosen herself. And for the first time in a long while, she felt completely free.